EK live stream. Keep ascending, baby. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Under this. Okay. I think what I love most about the GoPro Mini is just all the fun, unorthodox ways you could mount it. Not even mount, just place on the ground. Okay. So, fun activities today. Got my 50-pound play sandbag. Gonna fill this up and do some sandbag stuff. Good morning. Yo, the pink super fire, bro. Love those shoes. Hyper pink is a good colors. Yes. Very funny. Even in LA, right before the sun comes up, it's actually kind of cold. It's I need to start wearing my merino wool leggings. It's like 55 degrees. Mosquitoes, still mosquitoes. It still looks pretty cold. It's yeah, wear the shorts, merino wool leggings, maybe even a merino wool long sleeve. Good here, or just down vent, merino wool t-shirts. Okay. Fucking mosquitoes. Okay, it's over there. GoPro chest mount, baby. Okay. I wonder if this is actually good grip strength training. Just hold the bag, hand grip it, carry it. That's a good idea. Or just picking it up with two hands like a baby. Actually, Cindy had a pretty good idea. It's like, maybe just buy a bunch of these 50-pound sandbags and stack them on top of each other. I mean, you could just get a milk crate barrel. Just opt for the getawayest possible solution first and then work your way up. So one of the great ideas that I loved that I did was kind of discovering that you could create a rack out of concrete cylinders. Yeah, and I think I'm like, man, should I get into metalwork? I'm like, I'm gonna build this stuff myself. I'm gonna pay nobody else to do it for me. It's funny because some additional turbo thoughts. So people's like, oh, quality blah blahs. I'm like, it seems like everyone's so obsessed nowadays with quality, but thinking about quality is not a really super critical way of thinking about things. It's because all the stuff is made pretty good now. Okay, So some fun thoughts you could do with the sandbag. I guess you could just toss it above your head and behind you. So for example, yeah, actually I think so funny, it's like if you had all the money and the resources in the world, how would you do things? I don't know, it's just like, I mean, I think I really like the gym, but I just want to create a more innovative solution. Coming on top of the hill, the park is better. Oh, so some fun thoughts. So one thing you could do is just take the sandbag, 50-pound sandbag, kid sandbag. You guys toss it over your shoulder like this. 1, 2, yeah. Or I guess you could even overhead squat this. Yeah, it's like $3. Alright, some more sand thoughts. Yeah, I guess one of the good things about sand, this whole sand approach too, is that I mean, it's cheap, and also the thing too is that because the surface is uneven, no two lifts are alike. And actually it's funny because after doing this like super hardcore sandbag training, like it's actually like certainly I could lift more weights if I had a handle or something like that, but it seems like half the fun of this is yeah, it's pretty challenging. It's the shapes are super awkward, and yeah, it's like yeah, maybe I want to try at least a week or a month of this, see how it works. I mean, it seems like a good idea. Yeah, so Rogue sells these 400-pound strongman sandbags. I mean, it's pretty heavy at 400 pounds. The reason I like the 400-pound concept is, well, I mean, it doesn't really fill up to 400. It's more like 350 if you just use playground sand. However, I think one thing I'm starting to think about, just in life and stuff, is that like having any sort of upper limit or ceiling is quite not interesting. So to me, having the privilege of being able to have a big goal is kind of what's fun to me. Like even a big problem I'm having with the gym and weightlifting is I'm actually starting to max out the weights pretty quickly. Also a funny thing is like people kind of exercise do the running and whatever's, but yeah, I would actually say it'd probably be a much more effective exercise to just do sandbag training. It's funny because I think running is kind of one of these new weird things where it's like, do people do it for exercise or they do it because they enjoy it? Yeah, just go to Home Depot, buy this like 50-pound sandbag. It's like yeah, like it's like $3. It's like yeah, anyone could afford it. I mean, like, I'm saying, like, yeah, maybe the best place to go for the innovation for weightlifting stuff, just go to Home Depot. It's might be more interesting. Yeah, and I guess also the good thing about coming to the park, especially if it's on top of the hills, is I mean, I have a theory that all the additional oxygens is good for your brain. May be true, may not be true, but seems like it makes sense. Okay, so open up the funnel, friend. Just pour this bad boy in. Oh, some other things I like about moving to LA. Yeah, people here are much more attractive and interesting looking. It's way more attractive than people in the OC or elsewhere. Even New York, it's like yeah, LA is the place to be. I mean, like fame, Hollywood, whatever. And actually, people are very friendly too. It's I think actually this weird category which we classify as millennial tend to be the most awkward and antisocial. Too much reliance on drugs, alcohol, the media, vintage stuff, flannel, vinyls, anything analog. Maybe the best analog training, just kind of kid sand. Also have some thoughts too. It's now that the fall and winter is maybe coming upon us, maybe the best way to live and strategize things is maximum time outdoors. Just don't be indoors even though it's cold. I mean, honestly, like, since I lived in Providence, Rhode Island on the East Coast and it snows and shit, right? I really think that the best investment you can make for yourself is just get yourself like a Canada Goose jacket. About like a $5,000 Canada Goose jacket. Can't afford it. Just get a used probably. I'm sure you could buy a used one. Like all these rich international students probably just throwing them away. Actually, during early COVID, I had lots of benefits because all these rich international students fled from our apartment studio complex, and as a consequence we got all these sweet clothes, and also rich international Korean students too. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess the question is like, what is the benefit or the upside of sandbag training? I mean, some thoughts, right? First and foremost, certainly it will not make you weaker, right? It's like it could only make you stronger. Also, there's some other fun ways you could do this too. Is even just dragging on the sand is pretty effing hard. Like once you fill it up pretty heavies. I mean, I mean, honestly, I'd prefer just be lifting super heavy weights at the gym, but I mean, I'll probably do that later. I just haven't found a good solution yet. Yeah, it's 50 pounds. It's so cheap. Crazy. Yeah, I think. Well, okay. So several things. The problem with the gym is you're kind of like not permitted to bang around equipment and to drop stuff and to be loud or whatever's. The gym is weird because it's kind of like a lot of comportment bodily policing there. Is it like I mean, besides me, right? Maybe Ronnie Coleman, one is not permitted to be loud. It's kind of this like new like modern thing. Even Cindy's researching it on her history book on the history of the Vietnamese library. The basic problem is like one must be quiet, orderly, can't listen to music loud. Only quote ratchet or hood people do that. Some of the good things about going to LA Fitness and Providence, Rhode Island, kind of more like a kind of more ratchet. I like the word ratchet neighborhood. Like people just like in wife beaters, blasting their music on their iPhone speakers. Ain't nobody saying nothing, right? And the funny thing is, typically that kind of behavior is only relegated to kind of quote poor or lower socioeconomic peoples. Like, what is the difference between rich people, poor people, whatever? Is that rich people, you're supposed to be quiet, orderly, and respectful. Poor, low socioeconomic people tend to be more ratchet, loud, disorderly, whatever's. So like if you ever walk by go to a McDonald's or whatever, and you see a bunch of like kids just like being super loud and disorderly. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. And actually people think it's a race thing. It's really not a race thing because it's really a socioeconomic thing. So my thought is when somebody call you white versus black, essentially they're just trying to paint you in a certain socioeconomic strata. So for example, like look at Beyonce, right? Is Coco Beyonce Coco black? I don't think so. It's, you know, she rich. Once you're rich and successful and famous, whatever, then become a new category. I don't know, whatever. It's like use the new royalty, the new aristocracy. Like even funny thing, right? It's like people think about Kim Kardashian. So think about Kim Kardashian, right? Is Kim Kardashian quote white? I don't even think people even think about it. It's like, oh, she's Kim Kardashian, right? And so I think the big issue in America, too much of this racial politics, I mean, this is my theory, is I think it's more about the media trying to stir up animosity in order to increase their ad revenues. And also my personal read on it too is a lot of people in the news agency tend to be, you know, like very educated, you know, people and you know, stuff like that, progressive folks, you know, who legitimately want to do good, and they see a lot of bad injustices done in society, so they write these opinion pieces, right? And while that's all important or whatever, it's like I mean, let us not forget that the Hearst Corporation essentially owns so much of this. News Corporation. Just look at all these umbrella media companies and just see all the platforms that they own. So, I mean, the best way to just free your mind, you don't even gotta take a red pill, take an old pill. It's just quit the news. Quit the news, quit media, quit Reddit, quit YouTubies, quit podcasts. Yeah, it's all, even Joe Rogan. Like, I listened to a few of his interviews with Kanye and Elon. I very much enjoyed them. But it was like Joe Rogan's like talking about something sort of like testosterone, steroid supplement, blah blah. I'm like, this is weird. Know about that, right? And also like, how do you know if somebody's quote self-owned or not? Like like Shout out to my neighbor Jim. Yeah, maybe like, I don't know, Kid Rock. It's like self-owned. Essentially, like, because I think Joe Rogan, doesn't he have like a multi-million something dollar contract with Spotify or something? So one of the big downsides of having a big contract like that is you're kind of still be held into these sort of like so for example, like now that Joe Rogan has this big contract with Spotify, I guess, right, or whatever, for X amount of $1 million, whatever's, I mean, like, certainly there's an expectation that one must continue to create podcasts and I don't know, like, maybe a suggestion for Joe Rogan. Yo, Joe, you listen to this? My suggestion is maybe it's just like, rather than like the podcasting strategy right now is kind of like kind of long form interviews with interesting or successful people. But yo, Joe, you should just stream your own personal thoughts, just like an hour of you just talking. Just don't interview nobody, interview yourself. Yeah, I think people who interviewers tend to be a little bit. The only person I think I really liked was in terms of their podcast is actually really like the James Altucher. His podcast, his blog is hilarious. I mean, it's almost like the new modern day Maddox. It's like very honest and funny. I like how he interrupts people. I think people who I was hugely inspired by, but whatevs about is, you know, like, I love Tim Ferriss. I read his 4-Hour Work Week when I was like undergrad in college. A lot of inspiration from him, but I even think the problem with our best buddy Tim is, I don't know, I think he just kind of has a chip on his shoulder. You know, he's kind of like depressed and suicidal in school, which is fine. I think it's very courageous that he put it out in the air and stuff like that. But then the downside of that is, if your genesis and your start is from that kind of lowly place, then the result is always kind of a lowly place. Even like Tony Robbins, read a few of his books, and I think it's interesting. I think it's funny and hilarious. But then also maybe the reason why Tony Robbins ain't no good either too. What stories of him being flat broke and fat and depressed in LA. So the question is, does one come from a source of abundance or from paucity? Paucity meaning less. Yeah, I guess also the good thing is I'm like zen streaming these thoughts with you. I'm zen pouring this into the sandbag. You can just kill multiple birds with one stone, like a vlog, share my thoughts with you, get some sunlight. Oh yeah, so the good thing I think about being outside too, in the middle of the day as well, is even getting kind of like direct and indirect UV exposure, even when it's kind of overcast, you still kind of get some sort of benefits. So I'm currently just living in Culver City. Love it. There's like a Apple satellite office, big one on Washington. I always walk by it. It's like all these suckers being stuck indoors all day. It's like, yeah, the greatest privilege is to be out in public on the streets. Oh, some other thoughts. The reason why street photography is the futures. I don't know, I'm just like thinking more and more. It's like the best art is street art on the streets. And then it's like photography. The best photography is street photography on the streets. Yeah, that's a simple thought. Eric Kim Street Photography, the effing triple OG, baby. Gonna dominate the web. Yeah, actually it's funny too, because like technically, if I think about it, technically I'm a web developer. I mean, I don't know how to code, but I certainly develop and make stuff for the web. So anything that's on the internet, the web, is a good one. So the fun thing with this is every day, let me see if I could fill this up a little more. So it's actually funny, this bad boy actually gets pretty effing heavy soon. It's like dragging a dead body. even some like cool functional fitness, like dragging the sled or whatevs. It looks like mostly tedious the way that people do it, but yeah, that's actually another big tip too with exercise, fitness, whatever. It cannot be tedious. I think anybody who does exercises which are tedious are gonna not stick with it, because tedious ain't fun. So I suppose some questions to ask ourselves is, what's the point of fitness? Whatever is working out. It's funny because people call it like working out. I don't think it's working out. I think of it as training. Askesis in ancient Greek, which means training, strengthening, hardening. It's ascetic, A-S-C-T-I-C, ascetic lifestyle. The Spartan lifestyle, baby. Spartan style, like all goals at EK style, yeah. Okay, so first and foremost, let's see how heavy this is. All right, pretty heavy. So I guess also the good thing with doing sandbag is you're never really sure how heavy or not heavy it is, and as a consequence, I guess the fun is like you kind of maybe like demetricate it. Like, I mean, I think focusing on numbers with weightlifting, it's I like it because new 1 rep maxes, PRs, personal records. Oh, I also have another thought too, is I think acronyms are bad because they're not precise enough. So I'm gonna stop using acronyms. So no more notions of like, so for example, don't call it EDM, call it electronic dance music. I mean, it's kind of a mouthful, but a lot of people who ain't in the knows. And actually the fun thought too, the best way to troll people, or actually I think it's good from a creativity's perspective, is when people say, do you have just kind of like troll people or just joke with people. They're like, yo, what's your Instagram, bro? Be like, what's Instagram? Because actually I don't have one. So some successful photographer thoughts via Negativa. The best way to be a successful photographer: don't have an Instagram or delete it. Delete. Elon Musk. Man, that Walter Isaacson book is so far. I'm gonna stream some more thoughts on it. But anyways, so some things you could do. Even just dragging this and having to pick up this motherfucker, it's good. And I guess the good thing with the sandbag is you're not afraid of breaking it. And also, like, I don't know 100% sure either, but my theory is with sandbags, even the chance of injury is much less, because the sand is very multimodal and just kind of shifts around a lot. There's not like any one point of breakages. And people, oh, round back is bad. It's like, round back's not bad. It's like, I think people think too much in Euclidean terms, like straight lines, stuff like that. It's like, your back needs to be straight form. Don't throw your fake science at me, your scientism. Yeah, you get it up. You got it up. Okay. So, and I call these people form Nazis. That's why I don't like any of these CrossFit loser, 3-dimensional loser. You're a loser in every dimension. Shout out to Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I think anyone who's too much into form, anyone who tries to correct your form, it's like things to consider. It's like, are you really low-key trying to help me, or you're trying to like fucking stand on top of your little dung cock hill and you kind of, you know, think that you're so superior to everyone else, right? Is that yeah, whenever I try to help people, I ain't trying to correct no one's form. Don't stop correcting my. Don't correct my form, bro. It just be like, I'll give suggestions like, you know, like in the day, see girls or guys lifting. I just give suggestions like, oh, have you tried this out, or you know, stand here or use this grip, use some chalk. Oh, because you could lift more. It's like, that's my goal. It's like, I'll give you suggestions so you can lift more. That's it. Not like, you could hurt yourself. Be careful. Be careful. You gotta be careful. It's like, it's not my fault you're a coward. And actually, I think we gotta change our terminologies. Don't call people bees or bad words. Call them cowards. Use a coward. Cowardice is bad. Okay. Ah! So yeah, ways to do this. I've discovered. Gotta take off the vest. No more vests. I also suppose the good thing about being at the park, you're allowed to take off your shirt. I like the gym. These gym Nazis. Yeah, if I had a gym and you want to be topless, be my guess. Guy or girl, whatevs. I think I got to open up my own gym. Anyways, yeah, so I just try to shift this and then just get my hands under it. Also, the good thing about doing this at the park too is that there's much more. Because using the sand, it's easier to shift the weight around to put your hands underneath it. I've actually found the problem about being at the gym or being in the parking lot, because the surface is too even, it's actually not as beneficial. So try twist this as much as I can. And essentially what I'm trying to do is trying to clasp my hands together. Rotating. Give yourself a nice little massage. Okay. And actually the funny thing I've discovered is try to think too much about your form, you're not gonna be able to lift it up. Just don't think about it too much. Pretty heavy. It's like, what do you do for cardio, bro? Fucking lift a 400-pound sandbag. Get your heart rate up. Yeah, so I suppose the upside is gets your heart rate pretty heavy. Let's see if I can walk this back to the car.